Okay. Good morning. Um, Yesterday, Wild put this question. How do you guys keep motivation competing? Just lost it to the same people I was losing to 2 months ago, and I'm kind of on a downward spiral. So then I was just yapping in the Discord, kind of uncoherently about how I actually keep motivation when competing, or when I was competing. You know, how do you keep that motivation going, or like motivation in yourself and like confidence in yourself, right? I think that's mainly what it is. It's just like you have confidence in yourself, and then that means that's what you use as like your motivation to just keep competing because you don't get as deterred. So I thought I'd make a quick video clip showing with some graphs what I sort of figured out works for me, and hopefully it helps you guys. So I got these two graphs right here, right? There's a secret third graph that I'll scroll down and show. So you have being results driven, right? And I didn't label the graphs well enough. I was messing with them, and then every time I messed with them, it reset. But basically, it's like how happy you are and how good you feel about how you're playing and doing whatever is this vertical axis here, right? So then when you're results driven, um, it's really short term, right? It's short term, like I won a game, I won another game, and I won another game. That's going up on this curve right here, up to like a top of like a three, you know? Just some random number I picked. Like being results driven, it has a peak to it because like winning, right? You start winning, and then if you just keep winning, you sort of feel the same. You don't feel like you're, you know, just every single time you win a game, you just get higher and higher and higher. Like you reach a point where you plateau, where it's like you're sort of expecting to win. I was going to make another graph like per each of these that's like results driven and then results driven for someone who's a like seasoned competitor, right? Someone who's already like fucking reached those diminishing returns, because then this graph will be a lot different. This is really modest, right? Where you start winning and then you reach your high point and then you start losing and you gradually go down and then you reach the negative spot where you're feeling bad about yourself and then you start going back up. But then what happens to people who are more seasoned is like you go up, right? And reach this like three or whatever, and you're feeling good. And then the instant you lose a game, you're in like -6. You're like down here, right? And then you just stay down here. And if you win 10 games in a row, you still have this residual -6 uh, making your vibes really bad. I think that that's true for a lot of people who are very results driven for a long period of time. And you can even apply this to like your placement in a tournament, right? If you like flip the graph upside down where it's one is where you won the tournament, and then a higher number means you got a lower placement, like you finish 16th, you finish 28th in some 50-person tournament or something like that, then your graph would be like fluctuating around, maybe you get top eights, but you don't win, and you're fluctuating around this five, and it's just flat line. It just stays where you're mostly, and you go up and down a little bit, but then as soon as you do poorly one day, there's a huge spike down to from 5 to 16, and then it's just this big like bad feeling that you have. And I just think of results driven as being really short term, and it's high variability, and you have a peak, but then your low point is very dependent on you as a person, whether or not you're going to go on this downward spiral and just really feel bad about it. Then the next one is improvement driven, right? This one is a bit better because it's more medium term, right? You have to compare yourself to where you were before. The differences with like being improvement driven, where you like get your satisfaction from feeling like you're improving. And you can use that as like a metric for like, okay, I feel confident, I feel like I am improving, so then I should feel good about how I'm playing, and that gives you that motivation to keep competing, right? This is so short term that you could ask yourself, you know like you can ask yourself 20 minutes before you lost your set that got you out of the tournament, you would be totally chill about competing. You love competing, it's so much fun. 20 minutes after you lost your set in the tournament, you could say that you're the worst dogshit player alive and you never want to compete again. Improvement driven, at least, you buffer against stuff like that, where you compare yourself from two different points. Um, the thing with this one is that it's harder to make this number go up. It's harder to make it consistently be going up, right? But then because it's harder, you get more satisfaction. You're more sustained in feeling like, yeah, over these past couple of months, I've really come far. But you can see that these graphs kind of align a little bit. They're correlated in a way because your improvement, like a metric of your improvement, is your results. So it's going to happen, right? There's stuff for improvement that don't deal with results that you see like outside of a tournament or outside of your wins, and it's like in your gameplay and things like that. So that's why, this one's more robust and you don't have to like feel so bad about it. And I'm saying all this like a robot, right? Where I'm looking at graphs and shit. This is just like your mentality towards what you look at as a person or a player to like not it's what you look at so that you have your rock, you have your base, you have like your ego and your identity or whatever. You root it in these different things. And I think all three of the graphs, everyone has these things, whether they say that they do or not. Like if someone says that they're improvement driven, they still are results driven to a certain degree. Maybe they don't worry about it as much. Maybe they don't take it in. But there's like a certain percentage, right, of mix for every person. And my advice for maintaining confidence and maintaining motivation is adjusting those percentages, right? So there's a lot of people who are like improvement driven. You would think of like Casper, right? Casper is always like, as long as you're improving, as long as you're doing better, he's all about that. So then, and like me, I've definitely talked about improvement driven stuff for a while, but then I've been moving more towards the third one. So then, yeah, this number, it's harder to make it go up, but it's very easy to believe that it's going down and it's negative whenever you start losing more. But I think that's not true. I think that people really overestimate like getting rusty or getting worse or performing worse. I think it's like on a given day in the short term, it feels like, yeah, you're actually worse than you were like a week ago. But your average over the week of how you're performing and all that and what you're doing is not actually worse. So I don't believe that this number can go down that much. But it's easy to believe that it is when you start looking too much at the results. So then, yeah, I would say moving from results to improvement will definitely help you not feel like those sporadic ups and downs and things like that. And then you can more consistently over time just keep competing, keep doing whatever you're doing and not spiral, right? And then there's the third one, which I think is the most important one and the thing that people recognize the least, probably. And that is your career progression, all right? So this is the third graph, right? And this is everything. This is everything you've done from the point you started playing fighting games and you were at 0 to the point you reach now where you're at 8, or wherever it reaches, maybe even playing for a long time and you're all the way up at 100 or something. You have so much like under your belt. You have so many wins, so many losses, so many people you've beaten, so many things that you've learned, right? The things about looking at yourself this way is that this number, it never goes down. It literally can't go down. This is all the things that you've done leading up to, the point where you're at. And it builds up over time, and that's how it's a really long-term measure. And the more long-term you're measuring yourself, I think that that's where you can have like the most satisfaction and the most like the biggest well to get your water from, or the biggest like reserve to have as your base, to where you're not just like letting yourself be a fucking, we're so back and it's so over all the fucking time. This one is where it's like, okay, I've made it this far, and I know that during this period of time, nothing was really happening. And during this period of time, nothing was really happening. And even though I ended up better off after these, 2 months or something, there was still a lot of losses in here. There was a lot of times that I lost in here, but when I did lose, I really focused up and I started improving. And all of these things go together, but this one just encapsulates everything. And if you learn to appreciate it, then I feel like that's where you can, and I wrote this specifically, if you learn to appreciate your career progression more, then you can tap into giving yourself assurance of your abilities and qualities, even if the others are falling down, right? And I have here the definition of confidence. And then this is the one that I liked. A feeling of self-assurance arising from one's appreciation of one's own abilities or qualities. So my advice is to learn to appreciate your career progression, how that is impacted by your improvement, and understanding that your results are a part of, your improvement, but they're not everything, and realizing how short term this is. And once you can appreciate this career progression, then it's like, you have a bad day and you lose to, what is it? You lose to two of the same people you lost to 2 months ago. And then, this is the thing. You have two, right, losses, and then you just feel negative. So then you're down here twice. That's what you're worrying about right now. But then that cuts out all of the improvement that you've done, and it cuts out this whole thing. If this was the point, and then this is the other point, and this was 2 months ago, and now you're missing out on all of this that you can appreciate and have as your base of confidence and your base of motivation, right? Or I guess, yeah, like I said at the beginning, I think your confidence in yourself is what you can fall on to have the motivation to not be deterred by losses. Because then, you just keep competing, and, you get to where you get to. You achieve your results, and you improve and all that. So that's my advice. And I hope this made sense. And yeah, hope you guys have a good one.